Hello, BookTube. Sorry about the change in lighting, but it only occurred to me belatedly that I had not done a MegaStuff video for today, and you don't react well when you don't get your MegaStuff any more than I don't react well when I don't get my MegaStuff. So I thought I would make a quick MegaStuff video for today. This is, for those of you who are new, this is just a portmanteau video where I pull together a whole bunch of little details. One of which involves the ongoing story of my mail boy. Several of you emailed me yesterday wanting to know if I had any updates. I recently got a new mail deliverer here on my route, a gorgeous young man who I started to talk to him about books, started to form a connection there that I liked, and then he disappeared again. And his replacement on the route says that the rumor is that he has COVID-19. I have not seen my new mail or my old mailman, so I don't know what the story is there. I will keep you updated. I also usually give updates on my tech, my various tech issues. But rather than wrestle with anything new, I just decided to continue sailing along. The combination that I have right now is an 11-inch MacBook Air. My 13-inch MacBook Air was the one where the keys were getting ready to, the A, S, and D keys were getting ready to crack and pop right off the keyboard. And I couldn't find any real useful way to shore them up. So I still have that MacBook Air, and those keys haven't cracked. It's a perfectly good machine. I was noticing the mental drag that when I was using it, I was increasingly worried while I was working, and that's distracting. So I just retired it. I got another MacBook Air, an 11-inch, that I love. I love it just fine, and it was cheap. It was very inexpensive for an 11-inch MacBook. So there's none of the preying mental worry of, what happens if I drop this or anything like that. I have been using a combination of that and my iPad fabric skin keyboard combo, 7 of 9. I've been using those two in combination, and they have been answering every need in a way with a smoothness that I really haven't encountered in 15 years. Once upon a time, 15 years ago, I had an EEE PC, a little white plastic 11-inch laptop that I loved, absolutely loved. It was a bare bones machine. But I pounded out a huge amount of work on that machine. I still have it. I think I showed it on this channel. And that was a perfect instance of where I had one machine that did everything that I needed it to do. Now I don't have that. I have the MacBook. Sometimes I need it. I have the iPad and the fabric skin keyboard combo. Most of the time that's perfectly good enough. I also have my iPhone and a burner phone. I got a couple of burner cell phones for $15 each. Just the other day, I went through the steps necessary to activate a phone account on one of those burner phones, and it works just fine. So I now have a working phone again. That's great. But as far as tech updates go, I don't really have much. My goal is not to have any tech updates at all. My goal is to have tech that just does what I want and never doesn't. But aside from that, there's a couple of AM reading updates that I can do. I don't do those every day. That would be a series of videos on their own if I gave you minute by minute, book by book updates on everything I read. But I thought I would bring two things back to your attention. We've seen both of them on this channel before. One is just an unabashed plug, because we are inching closer and closer to Halloween. Who knows what kind of a Halloween? I think Massachusetts is going to mandate against house-to-house trick-or-treating. I don't think that's a bad idea at all. I think the idea of going house to house and receiving stuff from the people who live inside them in the middle of a pandemic is little short of insanity. So I have no doubt that Trump country, throughout the middle part of the United States, will do that. And who knows how many fatalities will result. Look, Granny, look at all the candy that I got. Better take a look at it now, because you're going to be on a ventilator in 2 weeks. But we are inching closer to Halloween, so I wanted to show you this book again and plug it. This is Local Haunts. This is a horror tube anthology. This is 19 stories by booktubers, several of whom you probably watch. So I wanted to plug this again. The rationale for the title is that all of these things are pinned to a specific location, right? Because every specific location anywhere in the world has that one creepy house or that one haunted cemetery or something like that. Every place in the world does. Uh, it was even true in Iowa City. In Iowa, there's a cemetery in Iowa City, and there's a statue in one of those cemeteries called the Black Angel. And the folklore going all throughout the student community at the University of Iowa was that if you spend the night in that cemetery and you kiss the Black Angel, you will die. I have a wonderful story connected with that where I decided that I'd heard enough of that and wanted to freak out. I mean, to the point of involuntary incontinence. A group of young weightlifters. And that was tremendous fun to do. The Black Angel. The Black Angel came that close to being the subject of a short story of my own. I am not in this anthology. I was originally planning on it, but it just didn't work out. But a whole bunch of people that you know are in this anthology, and the stories range in terms of register from what we could, for want of a better term, call cozy horror. The skittering of dried leaves, the scratching of bare tree branches at windows, the idea of being good and scared, to genuinely unsettling stuff, and everything in between. So I've shown this to you before. I thought I'll show it to you a couple more times before Halloween. Of course, it will still be a book after Halloween, but this is pretty inexpensive on Amazon to get yourself a paperback of this or an ebook. I think there's an ebook available, but one way or another, you can get a copy of this book in the mail. Cameron Beek's great cover there, full of the fiction of people that you know, and that makes it a good cause. It's a booktube anthology, and the other am reading thing that I wanted to mention is, again, something that we've seen on this channel. It's absolutely gorgeous. I've spent a huge amount of time with it. I tend to spend a lot more just trying to understand it, really. This is The Unfinished Tales, a book that J.R.R. Tolkien's son put together of the notes and fragments from his father's legendarium of Middle-earth. That is just tremendous. This is lavishly illustrated. Alan Lee, John Howe, and Ted Nasmith do the illustrations here. There's a built-in bookmark, and these are little glimpses of what might have been, little glimpses of stories that almost started, or that did start but that didn't quite finish. And I have just been loving this, just absolutely loving it. So that counts as an am reading. And then we have mail. We have a bunch of packages of mail, and then we'll be done for today. Most of these are big cardboard packages, with the exception of this one. Hi, baby. What are you doing? Who's the baby? What have we got here? Okay, this is the new Simon Winchester. Great. So this is in January. Don't have to worry about it yet. This is the new Simon Winchester called Land: How the Hunger for Ownership Shaped the Modern World. Simon Winchester is sort of a known quantity. You're going to like his books, obviously. Let's see here. His last book, I think, was the Perfectionists. I believe his last book was The Perfectionists, which I think I reviewed. If I remember, I'll look for it and find a link. Land, whether meadow or mountainside, desert or peat bog, parkland or pasture, suburb or city, is central to our existence. It quite literally underlies and underpins everything. Employing the keen intellect, insatiable curiosity, and narrative verve that are the foundations of his previous best-selling works, Simon Winchester examines what we human beings are doing and have done with the billions of acres that together make up the solid surface of our planet. Land examines in depth how we acquire land, how we steward it, how and why we fight over it, and finally, how we can, on occasion, do come to share it. Ultimately, Winchester confronts the essential question: who actually owns the world's land, and why does it matter? Okay, so this comes out in January. I think I would very much like to interview the author for a Zoom chat and see if that's possible. But I don't have to worry about it yet. Let's see here. Okay, this next one is from New York Review of Books, and it's another hardcover. We've seen a couple of hardcovers from New York Review of Books. Very nice. This is a tiny thing. Stories I Forgot to Tell You by Dorothy Gallagher. Last one we saw was a big French historical novel. It was 5 times its size. This comes out in early November. Dorothy Gallagher's Stories I Forgot to Tell You is written with the warm, unvarnished voice of someone speaking to the person they'd held closest in this world. For Gallagher, that person was her husband, Ben Sonnenberg, editor of the much-admired literary magazine Grand Street and author of Lost Property, Memoirs and Confessions of a Bad Boy, reissued by NYRB Classics in June. Around the time their romance began, Sonnenberg developed multiple sclerosis, eventually becoming almost entirely paralyzed from the neck down. By his death at 74 years old in 2010, he had battled the illness for 4 decades. Stories I Forgot to Tell You collects 10 brief, luminous pieces composed in the wake of his passing. My, that's going to be intense to read. Okay, great. Well, this comes out as a hardcover on November 10th. Okay, fantastic. Well, I never know what I'm going to get. I never know what I'm going to get on this channel. Hey, baby. How you doing? Let's see what this next one is. Oh, it's a tiny thing. Oh, it's tiny because it's a romance. Oh, boy. Okay. This comes out at the end of the month, October 27th. This is Donna Grant's Looking for a Cowboy. I have read Donna Grant before. This is a Heart of Texas novel. I think I've read at least one other Heart of Texas novel. The Heart of Texas series has The Christmas Cowboy Hero, Cowboy Across My Heart, My Favorite Cowboy, and A Cowboy Like You. I think I read My Favorite Cowboy. Boy, though, this author is prolific. 100 books. Let's see here. A beautiful stranger has come to Clearview asking questions that are nobody's business. Cooper Owens also wasn't born yesterday. He knows that this out-of-towner is hiding a dark secret of her own. Much as he knows he would head in the other direction, he can't make himself turn away. P.I. Marley Frampton always wanted to lead a nice, quiet life, working as a cop in her local police department. But that dream came to an end when her sister was murdered and her baby kidnapped. Now Marley's come to Texas to investigate the Harpers, who may be linked to shady adoption agencies. Cooper can't believe that his friends could be involved in anything so similar, and soon makes it his mission to help Marley discover the truth and keep her safe in his arms. Okay. All right. Well, thanks to Sarah at the Bookish Knitter, I now have a bit of a sweet tooth myself for contemporary cowboy romances. She led me into temptation when it came to contemporary. I was perfectly happy in my little cul-de-sac of Regency romances. But every time, if you ever watched her channel, it's a romance-related channel, and every time she mentions that a contemporary book has a cowboy as a hero, on the word cowboy, her voice goes to water. So now I will read any contemporary cowboy romance that passes my way. All right, great. Well, we have a nice variety going on here. Let's see what the next one is. A finished copy of something. Oh, okay, great, fantastic. All right, this is from FSG. We saw the advanced copy of this, I believe. This is the Collected Stories of Shirley Hazard, edited by Brigida Olubas. There is the great cover. It's a black and white photo, but in this case, I'll take it. A National Book Award winner for her final novel, The Great Fire, and an NBCC award winner for her classic 1980 novel, The Transit of Venus. Shirley Hazard, who died in 2016, also wrote nonfiction throughout her life, including notably Green on Capri, her memoir of her friendship with Graham Greene, and 2 books about the United Nations, for which she worked in the 1950s. But it was the short story form that Hazard launched her career with, publishing her first story in The New Yorker in 1961, and beginning a long and fruitful relationship with the magazine. Now, FSG is very excited to announce the publication of the Collected Stories, bringing together 28 stories in all, including the stories from the 2 collections published during Hazard's lifetime. Great. Fantastic. Okay, so this is a November 3rd release, and I haven't touched the advanced copy. I feel terrible. I should have touched it by now, but I have been somewhat lost in philostomid bats. I've been somewhat lost and deliriously happy to be so. Then we have this last one here. It's fairly big, the biggest one of all. So probably another finished copy. And then we'll be done. Oh, fantastic. Oh, great. All right. This is, I don't have a pub sheet for this, but I bloody well don't need one. This is the best presidential writing from 1789 to the present. By to the present, that what is meant there is till 2016. After 2016, we don't have any presidential writing. at all. We have presidential tweeting by an illiterate, a moron, a head trauma patient. But up until the very end of the Obama administration, we did have presidential writing, and it goes all the way back to 1789 to George Washington. This is by Craig Furman, who wrote a book called Author-in-Chief that is incredible. An amazingly fun survey of the books and other things written by presidents in the United States history. This is a different thing. This is actually excerpts from the writing. You've got a lot of that in Author-in-Chief, but Author-in-Chief, the main delight of Author-in-Chief is Craig Furman's presence on the page. It is a U.S. presidential book you absolutely have to get, whether now or through your library or when it comes out in paperback. If it's out in paperback, it might be out in paperback soon. I don't know if I'll be blurbed on the paperback, but I cannot recommend the book strongly enough. Author-in-Chief is great. And this is, I mean, in the course of making a book like Author-in-Chief, if you're the author of that book, of course you are going to become incredibly familiar with the writings themselves. And this is going to have all sorts of famous stuff, probably from Washington's farewell address. But it's also going to have a lot of the not-so-famous stuff that is such fascinating reading in Author-in-Chief. Works that we don't remember their authors wrote. That'll probably be excerpted in here. Let's see what the dust jacket has to say. From the early years of our nation's history, when George Washington wrote his humble yet powerful farewell address, okay, there we go, to our current age, when Barack Obama delivered his moving speech on the 50th anniversary of the Selma to Montgomery marches, America's presidents have upheld a tradition of exceptional writing until Obama left office. Now, for the first time, the greatest presidential writings in history are united in one monumental treasury. In these pages, we not only have the words that shaped our nation, like Abraham Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation and Franklin Delano Roosevelt's infamy speech, but also the words of young politicians claiming their place in our history, including excerpts from Woodrow Wilson's congressional government and Obama's career-making convention speech, and the words of mature leaders reflecting on their legacies, including John Adams' autobiography, a slim fragment of a thing that's probably in here in its entirety, and Harry S. Truman's memoirs. We even see hidden sides of the president that the public rarely glimpses. Noted outdoorsman Teddy Roosevelt's great passion for literature. He read indefatigably. And once in a while, he talked like a fusillade. And once in a while, usually it was an obstreperous member of the press, but once in a while, somebody would, in his hearing, insinuate that he had only skimmed the books that he was talking about, had not read them in detail, simply because it's not possible to be an active family man, president of the United States, and also read that much. And such people always regretted it. Always. Because what would follow would be a classic TR challenging / friendly conversation about the details of the book. He never lied about what he read, and he never skimmed. It's just, but anyway, what do we got here? Or Sonny Ronald Reagan's piercing childhood memories of escorting home his alcoholic father. Reagan could be quite touching on the wreck that was his father. Encompassing notable favorites like Lincoln's Gettysburg Address and John F. Kennedy's inaugural address, as well as lesser-known texts like Thomas Jefferson's Notes on the State of Virginia and James Polk's Candid White House Diary. This book showcases America's presidents as thinkers, citizens, and leaders. Fantastic. This is going to go right on the shelf next to Author-in-Chief. And boy, oh boy. I mean, I know I started off this video selling you a book. I hope that you're seeing that I'm not really doing that. I'm actually just recommending. But I recommend Local Haunts. It will entertain you, and it makes a terrific present, especially if you know somebody who watches lots of BookTube. I am going to end the video on the same note because, God almighty, what a perfect present this is. I mean, in addition to a present for yourself, if you have, a friend or relative who is big on presidential history, who's big on American history, there hasn't really been an anthology like this. There have been anthologies of presidential writing, but not with this kind of a guide. If you wanted the perfect 1-2 punch of a present to give to such a person, Author-in-Chief and this book would be unexcellable. so there we go. We end with another used car pitch. We'll start it and end with those. So we have the best presidential writing. Incredible. I'm gonna have to see when this comes out. Probably November, sometime, right in time for the election. What else have we got here? This is a good mail haul. Then we have The Collected Stories of Shirley Hazard. Fantastic. We have Land by Simon Winchester. Always a pleasure to read this author. I doubt that I will review this for the Christian Science Monitor, since I reviewed his last one for them. But I might find another venue. If you yourself in your hometown know somebody at your local venue or local newspaper, feel free to sing out in the comments field. Steve is hungry for more venues. And let's just say, my rates are extremely negotiable. I'm not in this for the money. But anyway, what else have we got here? Stories I forgot to tell you in an elegiac mode. And Looking for a Cowboy by Donna Grant to top things off, the cherry, as it were, on top of a very good mail haul. Fantastic. Okay. So there you go. Mail haul, tech, am reading, all that sort of stuff. So there's your MegaStuff video for Thursday, as I'm losing the light. But I will wrap this up for now, and I will see you soon. Thank you, BookTube.